Good morning, Stampers. It's Donna Gray here again, your independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from the Northern Rivers area in New South Wales, Australia. Bringing you a card this morning using our beautiful Ribbon of Courage stamp set and Thinlet set. Comes in a bundle. It's in our brand new catalogue. We've launched our brand new catalogue, Stampin' Up catalogue for 2017 to 2018 on the 1st of June. It went live. So I'm bringing you some videos of all the new products that are in this new exciting catalogue. So this is the card that we will be making today, only I'm actually going to make it in a different colour. As you'll know, if anyone has been touched by cancer, which I'm sure there's very few people that haven't had someone in their family or someone that they know have a battle with cancer. This one here is for breast cancer. Pink is for breast cancer. You'll find that the colours of the ribbons stand for different types of cancers. So what I thought I would do is, mauve is actually the colour for all cancers. So I thought I'll do this card but in mauve so we can cover for all cancers. So okay, so now this is our brand new catalogue. This here, sorry, I'll flip it over. This is our brand new catalogue. As I said, launched on the 1st of June. And very exciting things in it. The Ribbon of Courage comes in a bundle, and you'll find it on page 96 and 97. The bundle is here on page 97. You get beautiful thinlets. You get this lovely stamp set. This ribbon is absolutely gorgeous, and as you'll see, I'm going to do some heat embossing today in this video. And on the pink one here, I actually embossed it in gold embossing powder, so brings it up very nice. So that's the stamp set, and as you'll see, sorry, lots and lots of stamps in there. I've got them all mounted on my blocks. Okay, and this is the thinlet set that goes with it. So you get this lovely large ribbon thinlet that you can cut out. You also get a tiny little thinlet of the Ribbon of Courage. Beautiful flower, couple of hearts and some leaves. So today we're actually going to use the thinlet to cut out the ribbon, and I've also ahead of time I've used the thinlets to cut out the little hearts. And as you'll see in the stamp set, beautiful little filigree looking hearts here, same as the ribbon. So absolutely lovely stamp set. Okay, so for the items that we're going to be using today, you're going to obviously need the Ribbon of Courage stamp set and thinlets bundle to make this card. We're also going to be using, probably can't see this in the video, but softly falling embossing envelope. We're also going to be using our pretty tag top. We're going to be using some gold embossing powder, some VersaMark, of course our Tombo, a bone folder. We're going to be using Wisteria Wonder stamp set and Crumb cake stamp set, our embossing buddy to use with our embossing powder and our gold embossing powder, and a heat gun, of course. Okay, so sorry about that, shaking the camera there. The cord was hooked in my table. Okay, so with no further ado, we'll start making this card. So first of all, for our cardstock, I'm using Whisper White for our base, 5 7/8 by 8 1/4, and then we're actually going to top it with Wisteria Wonder. And we need 2 sheets of that at 4 inches by 5 3/4 inch. Then we're also going to top it again with our Whisper White. We need 2 pieces cut at 5 5/8 inch by 3 7/8 inch. We're going to need a piece of Wisteria Wonder for our Ribbon of Courage. We need that cut at 2 1/2 inches by 4 inches. And we also need a piece for our little tag that has our sentiment on the front, 2 inches by 3 1/2 inches in the Wisteria Wonder, And we need a piece of Whisper White, just a scrap piece of Whisper White, to be able to stamp our hearts, our big heart and our little heart, and cut them out. I've actually done that ahead of time, and this is how they've come out. Okay, so I just did that so that we didn't have to waste time watching me stamp and cut them out. I use my magnetic platform to stamp and cut those out, because then you can get the framelit, the thinlet around the heart just in the right spot with the magnetic platform. So first of all, we're going to take our Whisper White piece, 5 7/8 by 8 1/4, and we're going to fold that in half, corners to corners. This is where we use our bone folder. Crease that both sides so you get a nice fold. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is one of our 5 5/8 by 3 7/8 Whisper White. We're actually going to run that through our softly falling embossing folder. So I'll bring the folder over. So what we do is we place this, and what I wanted was, softly falling actually gets a lot more dense with the snowflakes at the bottom. So I wanted it fairly sparse up the top with it starting to thicken down the bottom. Now with this, we're going to bring our big shot in, and if you haven't used embossing folders with the big shot before, what you'll need is just your, pop it in here like this. You see that? Yeah. So we just need our basic platform. Okay, we need one of our cutting pads and a second cutting pad. Just, oh, there it is under my book. So you place your embossing folder then in, your second cutting pad over the top, and run that through your big shot machine. Now I like to run it back through both ways, so you've got the pressure of your big shot machine on, going both ways on your cardstock, and as you'll see, hopefully you can see in the light the beautiful texture that we get from using that embossing folder. Okay, so we'll get the big shot out of the way again. So that is our embossed piece. So we're going to line them up. The way I've done the measurements, we're only having a very thin little border around, and that will be the front of our card, the base of our card. Okay, so the next job we're going to do is we're going to emboss our ribbon of courage with our stamp. So taking our 2.5 inch by 4 inch piece of Wisteria Wonder and our ribbon of courage stamp, and this is where our embossing buddy comes into action. Now when you're embossing, please, I really urge you all to use the embossing buddy, because it stops our embossing powder from sticking to any part. Like sometimes we have, you don't realise you have moisturiser on your hands, and you'll find that just where you've put your fingertips, the moisturiser will leave a little bit of oil on your card to, and it will actually pick up the gold embossing powder, and if you heat emboss then over the top of that, you'll find that you can't get it off. Okay, so the embossing buddy is a definite for embossing. So we're using our VersaMark ink pad, and with a big stamp I like to ink with the ink pad on top like this. Makes it much easier when it comes to inking up your image. Okay, so we're going to stamp that down onto our Wisteria Wonder cardstock. And if you haven't used VersaMark before and you haven't embossed before, you'll see a bit of a watermark where your stamped image is on your cardstock. I don't know whether you can see that in the camera. Bring it up a bit closer. You can see a water image. That's what our embossing powder will stick to. Okay, so with our gold embossing powder, we're going to shake that over the stamped image. Okay, tap the excess off. And as you can see, the powder has stuck to our image. I'll pop that embossing powder back into my jar. So because I've done a scrap bit of paper, I then can tip it back into my jar and you don't waste any of your embossing powder. Okay, so now what we're going to use our heat gun and we're going to heat emboss that. Sorry, it's a bit loud. So what you do is you hold it there. It takes a while for your heat gun to actually heat up and you'll see that the gold will actually change. There it goes. Starting to change there now. Now when you're embossing with heat emboss powder, you keep going until the image, it'll go bubbly and then it will smooth out and go really nice and smooth and creamy. When it's smooth and creamy, you've actually heated it enough. Be careful not to overheat, you can actually burn your embossing powder. And it takes a couple of times just with a bit of practice until you finally get the exact right amount that you've done. But what you'll find, it will go bubbly, then it will go nice and smooth. Okay, and there you have it. Be careful with your heat gun not to burn your fingers because they do get quite hot. Okay, so that's our gold ribbon of courage on our Wisteria Wonder. So now I'm going to bring in my big shot again, but this time I'm actually going to be using my magnetic platform. So I'll just bring the big shot in again. Okay, pop our magnetic platform on, pop that down, grab the ribbon of courage thinlet, and with the magnetic platform, sorry, I'm going to get a better cutting pad here. You can see that the magnets snap it into place. So then it saves you actually having to be careful and not move your die. Sorry, your thinlet. Okay, cutting pad on top and wind it through. And there you have it, our ribbon of courage cut out. Absolutely beautiful set this. Stampin' Up have really excelled themselves. I've been wanting a ribbon of courage stamp set and thinlet set for a fair while now. I get a lot of people asking me for cards for friends and people that they know that are battling with cancer. Now I don't know whether you noticed, I actually put all my thinlets, I actually make a magnetic sheet and put all my thinlets onto them. That way you don't lose them, you store them really well. As you'll know, if you've bought from Stampin' Up before, they actually have them stuck to a sheet of cardstock. But as soon as you take them off, if that paper flaps back onto it, it sticks and you wreck your outside cover. So as soon as I get all my thinlets, I whack them on a little piece of magnetic sheet and it keeps them neat and tidy. Okay, so we have that. Now our next thing that we're going to do, I'll just bring that card in so you can see in the corner what we're making. Okay, so we've got that, we've got that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this tag here. So with our 2-inch piece by 3.5 inch, we're going to stamp on that. Might actually, I'll do that with embossing powder as well. Okay, so back in with our scrap bit of paper and with our embossing buddy again over our bit of cardstock. Okay, so on the front here, I'm actually going to use the stamp out of this set. It says, "With faith, all things are possible." Okay, so bring our VersaMark in again, ink up our stamp. Okay, I'm going to stamp like that. There it is again. Actually, that's a little bit crooked. I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to try again. This is the beauty of not sticking anything down until you've stamped all your images and things, because there you go, I've made a mistake. It was a little bit crooked and I was not happy with it, so I can actually turn it over and have a second go. Okay. That looks better. That's better. Okay, so now with our gold embossing powder again, I'm going to shake the gold over that. Tap it off. Looks good. Pop the excess back into our container. Okay, bring in the heat gun again. Make sure you put your lid on your embossing powder too, so you don't end up with embossing powder going everywhere. Sorry, noisy again. Heat it up until it starts to turn, and then make sure you heat it enough that it goes nice and smooth. Turn it around. Sometimes if you've got a small bit of cardstock and you're doing heat embossing, sometimes a pair of tweezers is handy, or a clothes peg to hold on to your bit of cardstock so you don't burn your fingers. Okay, let that cool off a little bit. Then we're going to use our decorative tab top punch. Sorry, I can't quite remember the name of it. I will list it in the list of items in the description box when we're finished. So what you do with your tab, you turn it over so you can line it up and see it in the there. Line it up nice and even. Both hands, press, and there you go. Sorry, there you go. Okay, now I'm actually going to use another little punch which sadly has not carried over into our new catalogue, but there is a way around this. Our envelope punch board has a corner rounder as well, but I like this beautiful little Project Life corner rounder. It was one of my go-to things, first things I wanted to get when I joined Stampin' Up, and just round your corners. But don't fear, if you have the envelope punch board you can do that, or you may not even want to round the corners. It's up to you personally, but I tend to like to do it. It feels like it finishes it off. Okay, so we've got that, then our hearts are going to go on like so, and that's just about the front of our card finished. So we might actually do all those layers and put those layers together. Excuse me, I need to get some dimensionals and foam strips. Okay, so now we're going to pop our layers together on the front. So with our Tombo on the back of our Wisteria Wonder, I use Tombo, especially when I'm doing layers like this that I only have a small border. I like to make sure that with Tombo you've got the wiggle room to be able to move it around and get it lined up, because you don't have much space to play with to line it up. Okay, so front layer there. The next one is going to be our embossed layer. So a bit of Tombo on that. Okay, so with the sparse embossing to the top and the thicker embossing to the bottom, line it up to get our nice little border. There. Now I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals on the back. As you can see, I stamped on the back of this one. I was going to do Wisteria Wonder, just straight Wisteria Wonder. I actually stamped off and stamped back on to make it paler. As you can see, it's quite dark, and I felt like it was actually too dark for the front. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pop the little heart up in the corner. Take the backing off. That up there like so. And popping them up with dimensionals just gives the card a bit of depth. Okay, now on the back of my tag, I actually, instead of using dimensionals, because you tend to use quite a few, I decided to use our foam strips. And sorry, I need some scissors. Paper scissors. Okay. So I just did 3 strips. I cut it to the length I needed. Turn it over. One there. One in the middle. One on the other side. Okay, I've also used a piece of our gold inch ribbon. This is one of my most favourite ribbons out of the whole Stampin' Up collection. It's just so delicate, especially for really nice delicate cards, baby cards. It's just a really nice width. Okay, so you loop it into 2, through from the front to the back. Then through your loop, you take your 2 tabs through your loop, and like so. Okay, so now we're going to stick that down, pull the backings off, up towards the corner, like that. A little heart, a little bit of Tombo, or you could use a glue dot. Really up to you personally what you want to use. A little tiny dot of Tombo does the job. The corner. Okay, now on the back of our ribbon of courage, we're going to put dimensionals on this section and then just a little bit of Tombo on that section because it's going to overlay. So we'll pop some dimensionals on here. One up the top, like that. Okay, take them off. And I just wanted to say I've been a Stampin' Up demonstrator now for nearly 12 months, and I've absolutely thoroughly been enjoying being a Stampin' Up demonstrator. I actually only joined because I made cards and to be able to have access to all the products that I needed to use. That was the reason for joining. So I actually joined more or less just as a hobbyist to be able to purchase the things that I need. Stampin' Up have made it so easy for us that you have a quarter minimum amount that you have to pay, which you have to order. And in all respect, I actually do that just on my own, alone in what I need to order. If I've got friends or people that want to order off me, that adds to my quarterly amount. And in all respect, you're not locked in. Everybody's, if you've ever thought about joining Stampin' Up and you were too scared because you thought you were going to be locked in, and have to make minimum requirements. Yes, you do, to get your 20% off. But if you don't, there's no dramas. You know, if you don't make that quarterly amount, they give you time, and if you find that in that time you still can't make it, it's no drama. Then you go back and you just lose your 20% and you buy again as a customer. But then, say in 2 months' time, you decide that you want to join up again. You can join up again under the same demonstrator straight away and enjoy the 20% discount again. So if you were thinking about, if you've been tossing up with the idea of whether to join or not, honestly, there is no limitations to what you can do being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I've thoroughly enjoyed being a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for that time. So if you were wanting to join, and please drop me an email. I'll put the email address at the bottom of my video here. And if you're interested in joining or interested in just having a chat with me and asking some questions, feel free. I'm quite happy to answer any of the questions you might need to ask. Now, sorry, in the insert, I've gone ahead and stuck my 2 little hearts on. In the middle, I'm going to use the stamp out of our stamp set that says, live every moment, laugh every day, love with all your heart. And I'm actually using crumb cake to do this instead of embossing on the inside. I've decided just to use crumb cake. Crumb cake gives the look of using gold embossing powder. So if you don't have gold embossing powder and a heat gun, and as you can see, that still looks like I've stamped it in gold anyway, but it's crumb cake. I found it really nice to be able to do that. So now we're just going to put our 2 layers together, and once again using our Tombo. So on the back of this one, pop a bit of Tombo on. Gives us the wiggle time. Layer that on top of our piece of Wisteria Wonder. Get a nice lovely little border all the way around. Then more Tombo on the back. Sorry, inside. Now, always make sure you've got the front of your card and your insert up the right way. Pop that on the inside, wiggle it around and get the nice border everywhere where we need to. And there you go. I'm actually going to stamp on the back of my card. To let everybody know that it actually has been... I'm not sure whether this stamp set is in the new catalogue. I haven't double checked that, but I will check. If there's not, I'll link a number for something that's similar to this. I'm actually going to use this one here, Handmade Stampin' Up. So I'll pop that onto one of my blocks. That one. This is a really big block for this, but anyway. And I think I'll do that in crumb cake again. And just stamp it down the bottom. Okay, there you go. It's really nice to stamp on the back of our cards to let people know that they are handmade and that they are using Stampin' Up! Products. So there you are, 2 fabulous cards made using the Ribbon of Courage bundle. If you're interested in purchasing any of these items, please feel free to jump on my online link down the bottom in the Show More information box below this video. You can find all the links to my store, my email address, links to my blog. Please jump over and have a look at my blog. I'm trying to blog at least every week without fail now, so it keeps you up to date with all the images and all the things that we have going on with Stampin' Up! Australia. So that's our Ribbon of Courage stamp set and 2 of our beautiful cards using the Ribbon of Courage stamp set out of our new annual catalogue. Thanks for watching, happy crafting, and until next time, enjoy your day. Thank you.